Alright, Mishnah 7. Az hu ra'a Golgolos achat shetzafa al pnei hamayim. So he also saw, right, this is not the only case of this. It says he saw a skull, right, floating down the river. And he said to it, Al di ateft atifuch, v'sof matafayich yatufu. The world's meaningful. Everything happens for a reason. Everything is appropriate. Right? This is the skull of Aristobulus. Right? It's one of the last of the Hashmonaim, and you have Hyrcanus and Aristobulus, and it's a civil war, and he has his brother murdered, and it's all sorts of bad nonsense going on. So it happens to be that he knows the particular case. But there's other cases, you see, we'll come back to it, but he's referring to, I think, part of the case of Acha, where he sees an incident of what is perceived to be evil, and he says, I'm done, I'm out of here. Right? It says, the hero of our Mishnah, Hillel, says he saw a skull floating down a river. He saw a person had been slaughtered and murdered and dumped in a brook. And how did he respond? He says, I understand how the world works. If you have been drowned and your head is floating down a river, it must be that you needed to have your head popped off and tossed in a river. I don't have to explain it, I don't have to get it. Hillel is certain, right? People ask the question, why do bad things happen to good people? Why does anything in the world happen? Hillel is convinced, and he teaches us in this kind of roundabout, kind of sideways fashion, that whatever happens, happens for a reason. That there's mida connected mida, that there's a pathway through. Right? It's one of the hardest things to hang on to. Right? Why is this happening to me? Right? Why do I need this? He says, this guy, he says, Ra'a Golgolos achat. He saw this particular head, shetzaf al pnei hamayim, and it was floating, it was drifting on the surface of the water. So he looked at it, he says, listen, you were a drowner. Therefore, you've been drowned. Right? God runs the world. Right? It's not always so direct. Drowners don't always get drowned. He often has a different way of getting back. But I trust the boss runs the world. You got what you needed. And those that did this to you, they'll get what they need as well. Right? That the world's not random. That everything that happens, we believe, we talk about the two faces of God in the Chumash, right? God of mercy and God of justice, right? Yud Kei Vav Kei, right, and Elohim. There's no God of capriciousness. There's no God of just having a bad day and how to get somebody. Right? There's no God of I couldn't control the world. Right? There's a famous book, there's people say, why do bad things happen to good people? And their answer is because God's not in charge. Or because God didn't have the strength. Or because God couldn't intervene. Or God didn't have the power. God is weak. God is stupid. God is fallible. God blew it. Right? Those are all ayin hara ideas. Right. It says what Hillel says is, listen, we may not always be able to lay it out in such a straight path as Aristobulus, but he says whatever happens, happens for a reason, and it's guided, and it's appropriate. But it's either just or merciful. It's hard to get a handle on it. But everything that happens to you. There's a lot, it's like I look in this room, and there's not one of us who hasn't been, and it's like, what you guys have gone through is a lot tougher than anything I've gone through. And so it's hard to hang on to, because you look at it and say, why me? Why her? Why, right? Hillel says, whether you take the Ramchal's model and say that, your soul is a soul that was created for this particular challenge, you take the reward or punishment, it's not up to us to determine, right, God's reasoning. But Hillel says it's all meaningful. So that's the seventh Mishnah.